Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very, very, very special guest. Very special to me because I remember him playing at Oklahoma State like it was yesterday, playing an all Big 12 shortstop, hitting bombs against OU. I know you remember that one in your last year there for Oklahoma State, winning the Big 12 title, now currently a bench coach and third base coach for AAA Oklahoma City, the newly renamed Comets. So Chris Gutierrez, how the hell are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, man. First of all, I got to start all the way back. We're going to get into your Dodgers stuff, but you know I got to go with my OSU stuff first, right? Big 12 championship game. Missouri hits a grand slam. Somebody misses first base. We get down seems like 9-2. Josh Fields is on that team. We come storming back and win the Big 12. I got to hear all about it.
Yeah, it was kind of a crazy run. We finished, I think, 6th in the conference that year. We just didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't have a good year as far as the conference play. And, our pitching was really the name of the game in that tournament. I think every one of our starters in that tournament went into the 8th inning. I think Spencer Grogan threw a complete game against Texas. And we got a little lucky. Texas had a couple players suspended for a bar fight against Texas A&M the night before. So we had a few of their better players were not in the game. So we were able to get into the championship game against Mizzou. And we didn't have to face Max Scherzer, which was nice. We had faced him earlier in the year. And
Scherzer was on that Mizzou team, huh?
Yeah, Scherzer was on that team. Doug Mathis was on that team.
Yeah.
So it was a great comeback. I believe Josh led the comeback with a home run. He hit a home run in the I forget exactly what inning, and then Pete Incaviglia's nephew ended up getting like a swinging bunt single to tie the game, and we were able to pull it out.
Yeah, that was an absolutely crazy game. I'll tell you another. By the way, I was looking at a lot of your pictures back there in 03 and 04. From your time at Oklahoma State, you had quite a bit more hair back there, Chris.
yeah. Those were the good times.
They absolutely were. Okay, so you grew up in Tampa, Florida, and you actually grew up playing on the same Little League team as Zack Greinke. I know you guys got to play in several World Series events. That had to be really cool. Talk about that.
Yeah, I grew up with Zack. He actually lived in a neighborhood behind me. My sister lives 3 doors down from his original house now. And, we met randomly. I was playing Little League and he was playing what they called, back then it was called SAY. And we had a family friend ask if I wanted to play in the SAY league. It had a little bit different rules. You could use a bigger barrel on the bat. The fences were a little farther. So there was just some different rules. And I was like, I just wanted to play. So my parents asked me and I said, yeah. And I ended up being on Zach's team. And then, we ended up becoming pretty good friends for a long time.
Yeah. Becoming pretty good as far as your teams too, right?
Yeah, we were good. He was always obviously, he was Zack. He was like the guy that was good at everything. He scratch golfer. He was actually ranked as a tennis player growing up in Florida, which is pretty incredible considering all the people that play tennis in Florida. And he was supposed to go to my high school. We were supposed to be classmates in high school, and for family reasons, whatever, he decided to switch and go to a different high school, which was bummed me out because I really truly believe if he would have gone to our high school, we would have been at least had a shot to win a state championship.
Nice. So Billy Gasparino, the vice president of baseball operations for the Dodgers, also went to Oklahoma State, also from Tampa. So there's a link there. So what got you linked to Oklahoma State, and do you guys talk about your experience, your common experiences together?
Yeah, I always bring it up with Billy. I honestly, Oklahoma State was kind of a wild card. I was being recruited by a lot of SEC and ACC schools, and I really wanted to go to University of Miami. That was like my goal. And when I took my visit, I was on a visit with Ryan Braun and Gabby Sanchez. Yeah. And I remember Jim Morris talking to us, and one of you guys is going to play short, and one's going to play second, and one's going to play third. And I was like, man, 3 freshmen playing for the University of Miami. So anyways, I ended up taking my other visits, and Robbie Wine and Tom Holliday were all over me for a while, and Tom was, really urging me to take a visit. And I knew honestly nothing. Being from Florida, it's SEC country. Like
Sure.
you sit in that bubble, and no other school really exists. And I remember him sending me the university's program, and I'm like, man, these guys have been to the World Series 18 times.
Yeah.
Robin Ventura went there.
Yeah.
Pete and Cavilla went there. And
Yeah.
I just started looking up the program's history, and I was like, this is a legit program. And so I took my visit, and I remember Josh picking me up from the airport and driving me past Bricktown and saying, hey, this is where we play OU. And like I said, I really didn't know anything about the program or anything. I didn't even know OU. Like, I just knew that Miami football beat OU badly one year, and I was like, "Who's this bid bag OU football team?" And Miami, my favorite team, beat him down no problem. So I remember I fell in love with the place immediately, and then talking with Tom and Josh and Robbie the next morning. It was like, hey, you have a real shot of playing and starting here as a freshman, which is pretty uncommon for big programs and Division Ones.
Yeah.
And
No doubt.
and I remember coming home and talking to my parents, and they're like, if you think that you can, start, the big thing is you need to play. And so that's why I ended up making my decision. Tom essentially promised me, like, you have a real shot. As long as you perform, you have a real shot at starting here. He didn't guarantee me the spot, but he just told me I had a shot, and I truly believed him. And to his credit, he was true to his word.
So what month did you visit Stillwater?
It was I remember it was probably September-ish
Yeah.
or October. Yeah, it was September, maybe October-ish. I remember going to a football game, and I remember Robbie Wine saying, "Hey, don't be too excited about our football program. It's not that great." And at the time, and we did win the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember saying, like, going to the stadium and going, this is not what I'm used to. Like, I'm used to going to the Cotton Bowl and University of Florida football games. And but so it was still great. I honestly, I wasn't worried about. I wasn't going there to play football, so I didn't care.
Right. So being from Tampa, you come in September. They did this strategically because I'm sure the weather was like perfect that day, right?
It was nice.
Then you show up for scrimmages in spring and it's like 33 degrees and you're like, what in the hell did I get myself into, right?
Oh yeah, it was definitely a different. Coming from Florida, I didn't have that, and I remember our freshman year having an ice out almost where like. It was snow, but it was more sleet and rain that turned into ice.
Yeah.
And I just remember talking to my roommates going, I'm not going to class today. There's no way I'm walking in that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's it like getting to coach now for AAA Oklahoma City, the newly renamed Comets now, getting to coach at the Bricktown Ballpark, the place to where you had so much great experience getting to play as a player as well in the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, it's kind of a full circle moment. It feels like I feel like I've spent so much time in Oklahoma between my 3 years as a student and player, and then I coached 2 years 2 years in Tulsa, and now another 3 years in Oklahoma City. So I've spent 7 years in Oklahoma. And I would have never thought that being from Florida, but it's an honor to work for the Dodgers and work for an organization like that. And then just be able to move up through the organization and call Oklahoma City home is nice and refreshing, because I still have obviously college friends that live there, that grew up there, and they come and visit. And so even though my family might not be there all the time, I can, be around some people I know.
So, okay, how did you end up being the bench coach and AAA third base coach for Oklahoma City?
So a few years back when I got hired by the Dodgers, so Clayton, I was working with the Cubs, and the Cubs let me go. And I spent about a year off out of baseball. I thought I had just met my future wife, and it was like, hey, maybe I want to do like what normal people do. And I had an old teammate that was in the construction business, and he offered me a job, and I said, okay, yeah, let's do that. So I was a project manager for about a year, and about 6 months into it, I just remember going like, this is not, I need to get back in. And I'm watching the Dodgers play in the World Series, lose to the Astros, and I'm looking through the directory, and I'm like, oh, Clayton McCullough, I know him, and I saw he's the field coordinator, so I sent him a text message, and I said, hey, Clayton, tough night, obviously you guys lost, but love to reach out, or love to talk to you about possibly joining the Dodgers organization. Next morning, like bright and early, 7 a.m., he calls me, and I was just so surprised, how quickly he responded. And he was like, hey, what's up? How we doing? He's like, I last saw you were with the Cubs. What happened? So we just got into it a little bit. And he was like, all right, well, give me a few days. And called me back in a few days. And he's like, hey, I got you an interview. And the rest is history. I was hired a few weeks later, and started in AZ. I remember they asked me where I would like to go, and I said, well, listen, I live in Arizona. I just got married. If you don't mind, I've never been an extended. I've never been at the lower levels before. Even as a player, like I was drafted and immediately like moved into high A. And I said, I just kind of want to see how this whole thing works. So I started there, and then I worked there for we won a championship my first year. And then, they asked me if I wanted to go to Tulsa after 2 years. And I said, yeah, I think it's time to move on, and worked in Tulsa. And then, then I got, Travis was really wanted me to work with him. And I was able to work with Travis the last few years.
So how did it come about you ended up being the third base coach?
Yeah. So Travis had asked me what my goals were and what I wanted to do. And I had told him, if I were to be lucky enough to work in the big leagues, I'd love to coach third base. It's like you're a player. It's the last spot on the field where it makes you feel like you're involved in the game. Not that first base coach doesn't, it's just a different dynamic.
It is.
I feel like first base coach, there's more detail involved as far as the information that you get to give to the players. Yeah. But at third, it's just more, you're in the game. You can essentially choose to cause a run or lose a run.
Yeah, right.
So that was what, and so Trav gave me the full okay. He's like, third base coach is yours. He's like, my only thing is if you get thrown out of a game, you are no longer the third base coach. So, so that was our deal, and I kept my promise. I wouldn't get thrown out of a game.
Speaking of getting thrown out of a game, Travis would get thrown out of about 4 or 5 games a year, and it was always awesome because he always got his money's worth, and he was always defending a player because he had his players' backs, right? Talk about Travis. He was awesome. Travis Barbary. Yeah,
Travis is truly, truly a great person, and he's been a great coach. He's moved on to a coordinator role now, which is great for him and his family. But it was great to be around him and how he treated the players and how every player just truly respected him. And he owned that room. He's not a hyper person. He doesn't give motivational speeches, but when he speaks, people stop what they're doing and listen because he's just a quiet guy. And so when he has something to say, you really know it means something. And that first year working with him and us being able to win the PCL, it was awesome. And I know last year it was tough because we felt like we had a good team, and we felt we should have played better than we did. And with all the moves that were being made, it just makes it tough sometimes. And it's for the betterment of the big league team, and that's fine. We understand that. But it's just one of the things we put a brand out there, and we expect to win. And we did win. It just wasn't at the same rate that we're normal to.
Yeah. I'm guessing that Travis got in his deer stand this morning about 5:30. So, well, you'll have to text him and see if you got him one today, right?
No doubt. I saw him at the World Series, and he had told me about his new role, and he said he's like, pretty much, this will be the last you hear me until I see you in spring training, because I'll be in a deer stand. So
probably smoking a cigar and watching,
no doubt,
watching for deer in a deer stand with a whole bunch of gear on to stay warm. Okay, let's get into some of the personnel last year. Obviously, you were a Big 12 shortstop. You're a professional shortstop. Made it all the way up to AAA. So you work with infielders. You had a lot of great players to work with last year. Let's start with a guy that's not in the system still, but a guy that was a lot of fun to watch and really gave the Dodgers a lot of return in back, and that was Trey Sweeney. So talk about what it was like to work with him.
Man, what a blessing in disguise he was. When we got him in a trade in that offseason, I remember getting a phone call from Will Rhymes and then Chris Woodward saying, hey, take a look at this guy. He's going to be with you. Tell me what you think. And just watching him going like, hey, this is an everyday major league shortstop. Yeah. And I don't throw that around too much, being in the system or being in baseball for a long time now. I don't think the common person understands how hard it is to play shortstop, number one, and then play shortstop at an everyday major league level. There just aren't that many of them, and to play it well. And I remember I was talking to Woody about, hey, we just need a couple tweaks on this guy. And this guy could be a high level defending shortstop. He's not going to be real rangy, but he's going to catch the ball and throw the ball, and he's not going to make errors. And I just remember saying he could be like a dumb version of a Corey Seager. Obviously, Corey Seager, MVP caliber player. I don't think that can be Trey, but I think it could be a poor man's version of him, and that's very good. That's making a lot of money in the major leagues, and I think we saw that. I think once the first half ended, he got to that second round of just being in the league, understanding the pitching, because the defense was never an issue, and he has speed and he's got power. And we started to see it, and right when we started to see it, we made the trade, and that was tough. I really spent a lot of bandwidth time with him, and it was tough. It worked out great for him. When we were in El Paso when it happened, and I said, "Hey, man, this is probably really good for you. You're probably going to end up in the major leagues this season." Yeah. And I don't think when I said that, I'm not sure it resonated with him. And next thing you know, he's playing in an ALCS, starting hitting 9-hole for the Detroit Tigers and contributing to a playoff team. And that was really cool to see.
Yeah. And, it's kind of like a used car guy where you buy a used car for a certain price, you fix it up a little bit, and then you resell it for way more than what you bought it for, right? I mean, that's what we did with Trey Sweeney. We got him fairly cheap. You guys did great work with him. You turned him into a great player, and then you got a way bigger return than you had to give up to get him in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the guys when he got called up. I know people on that staff, and they called me and they're like, "Man, this guy is a professional. You guys did a great job." And I just that was nice to hear. And it was, like I said, it was good for him. And it sucks to lose players like that because he's a great teammate, great player, great human being. But at the same time, that's our job, is to help these guys and make them into major league players. And we want them to be for us, but at the end of the day, their goal is to be major league players. And that's kind of what we tell them. It's like, hey, we want you to be Dodgers. But sometimes, you just saw Michael Conforto signed and Blake Trinan signed, and I'm sure Teoscar is behind that. It's hard to break our lineup. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we want you to be Dodgers, but there's other teams that you can serve value to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's continue with the personnel, and we'll get back to Alex Freeland, another shortstop I want to talk about that Dodgers fans want to hear all about. But I can't go any further without talking about my man, Drew Avens. I don't know that there's any human being, baseball player I've ever seen I have more respect than him.
Yeah, Drew is a complete professional. I've had Drew at every single level. So when he got drafted,
oh really?
Double A, now Triple A, and it's hard to spend 6 years with one organization and never get released, never don't get traded. And I think that just shows the organization really liked Drew. Unfortunately, there just wasn't any place for him in our system. But we valued him because he was always in a stay hot camp after the season in case someone got hurt for the playoffs. So it wasn't that he wasn't valued. It just wasn't. There wasn't really a spot for him. Unfortunately, there was many meetings talking about him possibly. Hey, can he be the Dave Roberts of the Dodgers?
Right.
Come in and steal a base in a playoff game. And it just for whatever reason, those things just never happened. But it's good to see him sign. He gets to go to Oakland. That's going to be a great situation for him. Great opportunity for him to possibly, make a major league team and get an opportunity to play in the major leagues for an organization that isn't as talent rich as us.
Alex Freeland, one of the most talented young men, one of the most motivated, one of the most driven young men that you will ever find. Talk about him. Yeah,
Alex is great. I didn't know much about him until we got him. And, it was kind of like, again, it was like bittersweet. Like I watched him, who I considered my favorite player, you could get traded. And then, Alex comes up and I just was like, this guy better be like Trey Sweeney. Yeah. And you know what? He was exactly like Trey. Extremely talented. Another player that I will put on saying he can play everyday shortstop in the major leagues. There isn't too much about his game that you can critique. He's still learning. He's still young. And defensively, he's very, very good.
Great athlete, isn't he?
Great athlete. He's a bigger and stronger than I thought he was. Again, I didn't really know him. Hadn't really seen him. And when we got him, I saw him in Vegas. That was the first time he came to us and leads off the game with a home run. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So it was, he was definitely a treat. And he has a potential to possibly be the future shortstop of the Dodgers. I believe the trade that Trey Sweeney was involved in opened the door for Alex to now knock down and get an opportunity to possibly, become the future Dodgers shortstop, which is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah. I have not had a chance to talk to him, but I've been around him. And he seems like he's very quiet and just very humble and just kind of wants to just put his nose down and go to work every day.
Yeah, he's fiery guy on the field. Like in between those lines, there's a different Alex than you see off the field, which is cool. He holds his teammates accountable. If you're not there to play and to win the game, you're going to know about it. And that was the backstory with him. We've heard a lot of stories about him and Dalton getting on other teammates down at the lower levels about, hey, we're here to play baseball. We're not here to, screw around. And that was great to see. That doesn't happen. This generation of players is just different. The way they've grown up around the game and essentially been treated by people. They've been coddled a lot because of all the social media and the perfect games and stuff. And what's my rating? What's this and that? And it's not a lot of coaching's been given to them. But these two guys are, I feel, built from a different cloth. Like they've a little bit more old school in these two guys, and especially Alex. And that's great to see from the guy that could man down shortstop for the Dodgers one day is that could be your captain.
So Dalton Rushing, obviously the mentality, you mentioned it. Can you speak to his mentality and then maybe some of the positional versatility that you guys are working on with him?
Yeah, he didn't know much about Dalton. I knew he could hit. I obviously knowing that in the organization. And, didn't know much about his catching. And then when he came up, I was thinking, where's he going to catch? We have, Hunter Fiducia. Yeah. And I'm like, this guy has to play every day. And they're like, well, we're going to put him in left field. And I was like, oh. And then watching him run, I'm like, oh, he's a lot more athletic than I thought he was. And I thought he did a great job moving out there for the short time. And literally his first day playing in the outfield was in AAA, which is, it's a pretty tall task to ask a young player or any player to do is, hey, we're going to move you from behind the plate and you're going to go play left field. So, the work we did with him before the games and then him just being a true pro and like reading the positional card and learning about it and wanting to know about it and doing his due diligence during batting practice. I thought he did a tremendous job. And I honestly feel like that could be a future role for him if the Dodgers decide on that. Not that he cannot catch, but for bat wise, it could be a future, potential better position for him just for body wise. It's just a less physical demanding position to play the outfield, especially left field, than it is to go behind the plate 4 or 5 times a week. But at the end of the day, it'll help him either way. He can do both. And now the Dodgers have another piece to the puzzle. We know we love versatility. It's like, hey, let's catch this guy one day and then put him in left field for 3 days.
Yeah. He played first base at Louisville when they had Henry Davis, too, so he can play there. So you played the toughest position on the field, so you know all about this. But how long does it take a guy like that to be able to transition to an entirely different position and be able to do it at a major league level, do you think?
I still think it would take him some time. I mean, it's going to take – he spent, 3 months playing out there? Yeah. I would say he needs a whole spring training and then probably a whole first half of a AAA season to get at least acclimated to a major league level. And then even then more, he'll learn more out there once he gets that call. But yeah, he still has definitely some learning to do. There's some things that we can clean up with him as far as, footwork and throwing. He's got plenty of arm. The arm is not an issue. If anything, if we do what we can do with him in left field, he'll have a plus arm for a left fielder, which is great for us because, behind the plate, he can throw.
He can.
I think the Dodgers are thinking on the offensive side, hey, what can we do to help this guy become a better offensive player? And we have Will Smith locked up for 8-9 years, whatever it is. How can we turn this next great hitter that we have into a major league asset?
So Cody Hosey and Ryan Ward, 2 older guys, Rule 5 eligible. They did not get protected. I'm hoping like hell. I'm a Dodgers fan, but I root for these prospects above anything else. I'm hoping like hell, honestly, that they get taken so they have a chance to play somewhere on a 26-man roster. So talk about Cody and Ryan, how awesome they are.
I thought Cody, this is by far his best professional season, and it wasn't even close. Yeah. Obviously, a guy we drafted early, had a lot of hype, and had a lot of success early in his career, and then kind of got caught in that wave of AA, which a lot of players get. The jump from tough. A ball to AA has never been bigger, and the jump from AAA to the big leagues has never been bigger.
Right.
And I thought Cody handled himself really, really well this past season. He came in with a mission, and fun fact, only player not put on the IL the entire season this year for us.
Well, he deserved that season because he's been snake bit with that.
No doubt. And he worked at it. One thing that's been, hurt him his whole career is arm issues, constantly on the IL for arm. And he came in with a plan about, wanting to make sure he did not go on the IL for throwing issues. And he didn't. And he worked at it all year long. And Travis sat him down early in the year and was honest with him, had a heart to heart, like, hey, I'm going to try and get you in there when I can, but you're not going to start at third base as of right now. Yeah. And like always, injuries. And next thing you know, Cody Hosey is playing 3 days a week, turns into playing 6 days a week because he started off hitting 400. And how are you going to take a guy out of the lineup that's swinging the bat like that? And ended up like I said, he had his best professional career year this past year, and hopefully another team saw that and will give him an opportunity. Yeah. And then going on to Ryan Ward, I mean, another guy that is just, you can't say much more about him than he comes to the ballpark to play every single day.
Dude can rake, man.
He can hit, and he's got that. The power is real, and there's no PCL bias here. We play in Oklahoma City, which is the hardest ballpark to hit home runs at, and he hit 35 homer or whatever he hit, 30 plus homers, and he's done it 2 years in a row now. and just played in that Premier 12 tournament with Team USA that finished with the bronze medal. And I believe he was one of the top home run hitters in the tournament, and he led Team USA in home runs. So the power is real. I think tomorrow he's going to get a phone call from a team I truly believe that. You can't tell me that the Chicago White Sox or the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Miami Marlins couldn't use a potential bat like a left-handed hitter with power to platoon in the outfield versus right-handed pitching in the big leagues. So I truly think he will get an opportunity to make a major league roster this next spring. And if he doesn't, then he'll be with us, and hopefully we'll give him the opportunity in the big leagues.
Yeah, one of my favorites of all time, undrafted free agent. Great story. Had just a historic year in 2023. Not a terrible year last year by any stretch, but not quite as good as 2023. But a guy that's a great baseball player, Austin Gauthier. Talk about him.
Yeah, Gator. He's again, like you said, undrafted, came from the bottom, and he's just worked his way up into being a conversational piece in that front office. Like people talk about him, and people really, really like him. And I think it wasn't by his nature or by us. We just had to get him at bats. So the only place we could throw him was the outfield. And he just didn't have a great time out there. It wasn't his spot. Yeah. And I think this next year will be better for him now that he's gotten out there and played. And understanding, hey, we value versatility. Not that he didn't work his butt off out there, because he did. It's just tough. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not. A lot of guys make it look easy. And I thought he did a great job on the infield. He's really working on his throwing, and it showed. He did a much better job this past year, and turning double plays. And second base, I feel, is his strongest position. But he can play shortstop in a pinch and third base in a pinch. And I think if we can get him to be a little bit more comfortable in the outfield, that could be a great spot for him, just to continue to show his versatility, because the bat's going to play. I know that his numbers didn't probably show what he is capable of in AAA, but some of that is the league too. Like the best players now aren't in AA anymore. They're in AAA. They used to be different when I came up. Right. It was like AA was the league, and AAA was kind of the old man's league. And, and it's not like that anymore. I think our team was the fifth youngest team in AAA this year. Oh, nice. And that's saying something. So it's just the game has changed so much now, because there's not those extra teams at the lower levels anymore. Major League Baseball took those away. So players have to get rushed through the system a lot faster. So the development now is starting to happen at the higher levels more frequently than it used to be. It used to be you had to master a level, A ball, high A, double A, triple A, big leagues. That you see, one of our pitchers this year, he went from low A, and he was on a playoff roster, on the World Series roster, a relief pitcher. That would have never happened 10 years ago, but it's more frequently happening now.
Yeah. And then another guy I wanted to talk about, a guy that had major league experience when we brought him in from the Tigers, got off to just a ridiculously great start. Never got his opportunity to see the major league level with the Dodgers, but had a great year with AAA Oklahoma City, Andre Lipsius.
Yeah, Lip is he's a character, man. He's smart as heck. I want to say he's like he went to school to be a mechanical engineer, and he's almost too smart. I remember Robbie Wine used to saying, like, "Hey, these smart guys, you have to be a little dumb to play baseball," and it's true. And it's just it's that game. There's so much failure, you almost have to be oblivious to it.
Overanalyzing is not a good thing.
And Andre can get into that mode, but we were able to, put him back into place a few times, and he had a great season, tap into that power he hadn't really tapped into yet, and had his most home runs he's ever had in his career this year. And I think, again, another guy that if we can, he got pigeonholed a little bit just to play in the first base because of just how the roster worked out. Another guy, I think that if we can, continue to use his versatility to his favor, might get an opportunity with us because of the bat. The bat is a true, tool that he has. And now that he's added the power, I think that opened up some eyes for some people up top saying, hey, this could be a future, Chris Taylor type player for us.
Can he play the outfield?
Yeah, that'll be something we'll have to see if that's something that, we'll touch on that this spring training, see if what Doc and BG and Andrew and those guys have, to say about him, because I do think a guy with, hits 20 something home runs and close to 300, I think you have to pay attention to him and see if he can do some other things for a potential, injury down the road.
Yeah. So Tom Holliday, you said, recruited you to Oklahoma State. He used to tell his players all the time that, hey, that pressure of you trying to impress scouts to get drafted, I can't take that away from you as a head coach. You just have to figure out how to deal with that on your own. So you're kind of in that same situation at AAA where you have guys, yes, there's pressure of the game in front of you that day or whatever it may be, but the big pressure for them is continuing to produce so they can become a major leaguer. How do you work with trying to take that pressure away from guys?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I try and keep them as prepared as possible every single day. So give them as much information as possible so that they are, when they step in that box or they walk across those lines to play defense, they have the answers to the test. And then it's just their job to fill in that circle. So every day we have a meeting about the starting pitcher, who we think is going to be pitched. It's not like the big leagues where, like in the big leagues, who's coming in to pitch in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. In the minor leagues, that doesn't really happen because you're developing players. And the guy that pitches for you in the 9th inning, if he gets called up, he's probably going to pitch the 5th inning because those roles are established in the big leagues. So we have to constantly move them around and keep them thinking and like, hey, I know you're a 3-hole hitter here in AAA, but we're going to hit you 5-hole today, or we're going to hit you leadoff today. I think that's the biggest thing is trying to help players and make them understand to be versatile and understanding. Like, hey, our goal is to make you a big leaguer, but when you get there, we don't want you to be surprised that you're not playing every single day because Max Muncy is the third baseman.
Yeah, right. And he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. And Freddie Freeman's the first baseman.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And he's pretty good. So I think the biggest thing is just helping them prepare and have as much knowledge as possible on that day so that they can go out and perform and not worry about like, I didn't know this guy didn't have a slider which would never happen. But that's when we played, it was like, who's pitching today?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Justin Verlander, good luck. That was a message from our hitting coach. Good luck. It wasn't like, he's got 22 inches of vertical ride or he's got a, 87 mile an hour slider with this type of depth. Now the guys know that. And all we have to do is, hey, we tell them, and then how can we create a plan to make you successful that day? Because each player is different. Ryan Ward, it might be like, hey, this guy is the slider might not be the pitch for you to sit on today. Okay, we might need to hunt that heater just because of the way your swing is and the way the ball moves. That slider is going to be a problem for you. So if we can lay off that pitch and you can hunt other pitches, that might be your success.
Yeah. Hey, and the guy coming in, Scott Hennessy, he was the mayor of Drillville. He's absolutely awesome. He's part of the staff that started that Cali County program there in Arc City with the Burroughs brothers in the Hall of Fame there. So he has JUCO background. And I say all that to say it kind of reminds me of the way that you have to approach the minor leagues in the sense that, yes, you're trying to build a team element to it. You're trying to win games. You mentioned the championship you won with Oklahoma City a couple of years ago. But then the big goal, though, is to get these guys advanced, right? So how do you deal with those two elements competing against each other?
Yeah, every day is fun in AAA. The amount of transactions that we have on a daily basis is just crazy, and you have to be fluid. And me and Travis would put together the lineup the night before or for the pretty much every game starting on Tuesday. We would have a blueprint for the series of who's playing, and so we could map out playing time and just how can we win the series this week. Obviously that changes on a daily basis. It changes nightly. You get changes during the game. Travis keeps his phone in the dugout for, hey, we have to take this player out of the game because he's going to get called up.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes. Or
cool.
You cannot pitch this player today because we might have to call him up. And he's scheduled to pitch. And then you can't tell the player that because then they're like, well, why am I not pitching today? So there's a definite like little game that we have to play with the player. Like, you're not playing today, and the player plays every day. Well, why? And those things those happen. Like the player a lot of times goes like, well, why am I not playing? Every once in a while, you're going to be like, I got a day off. And it's like, good. Think that you got a day off. But it's really like, hey, after the game, you're going to be in Travis's office because you're going to get called up today. Which is obviously so much fun to see that happen. And especially when a guy's never been called up. It was tough last year. They called Fetty. We didn't play Fetty one day, and it was because he was potentially going up, and then he went up. But he didn't get. He had to sit in the hotel because he wasn't technically activated. And that was tough because he ended up not getting activated and had to come back down. And it was like the biggest, like, you were almost got there. But to see him get called up this year, get to play, get his first major league hit, that's honestly why you're a coach. Honestly, when you're in my job, those are the things, because you think back to yourself and you're like, how cool would that have been to do? And you just know like the joy that they have, their families coming out. Not only that, but they get to wear that white and Dodger blue jersey. And that's there's something about that Dodger blue jersey that, when I put it on in spring training, I make sure to wear it every single day because a lot of people don't get to. And there's just something to say that Dodger is in front, that on the front of that jersey. There aren't many managers that wear their jerseys in the big leagues. And if you ever look in that dugout and you look at Dave Roberts, he's wearing his jersey every single day. And that tells you everything you need to know.
People always ask me why I get so attached to these prospects, and you just nailed it right there. I don't get to see them like you do, but I've talked to Fetty like 4 or 5 different times, right? And I've just seen the grind. I've seen the times where he got maybe passed over when I knew it had to be frustrating for him. So when you get to see those moments, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it's tough when you see guys like a Ryan Ward and those guys that are producing and they just haven't, they're knocking on the door. And I truly, like I said, I told you earlier, I truly believe that the Drew Avenses and the Ryan Wards are going to get their opportunity. Hopefully Ryan with us, but if not, I think he's going to get a phone call tomorrow. Awesome. And if he doesn't, then I don't know. I'm in those rooms and I hear the way people talk and I was lucky enough to do some advanced scouting for the major league team this year after our season was over.
Oh, nice.
And bringing up those type of names, teams are constantly looking, man, we wish we had a power bat to pinch hit right here, left-handed bat off this right hand. It's like, oh, we have one in AAA right now. Now we're blessed with having a lot of talent, so it's tough to break in with us. But I'm looking at other teams and watching them, going like, I think he could use a left-handed hitter right now.
He's gotten remarkably better on defense as well. Cody Hosey, in my opinion, has always been the best defensive third baseman in the entire system. He's just elite there. So, hey, Chris Gutierrez, this has been such a wonderful honor getting to catch up with you. Any final thoughts here?
No, it was great talking with you, and I appreciate it, you having me on, and anytime. And I love talking baseball, and, it was just, being in Oklahoma is just dear to my heart because of where I went to school. and it's like a second home for me.
Yeah. Hey, keep sending them home and keep scoring runs for now what we get to call them the Comets, right?
Yeah, that's an exciting new name, and saw the colors, and it's a cool logo, and they did a good job with everything, and be excited this next season to put that jersey on and wave some guys home.